Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas. Today, we're diving into the super high-stakes world of trading. But forget about the charts, forget about the algorithms for a minute. We're going inside the most important piece of equipment there is, the mind of the trader. I mean, it's a really frustrating question, isn't it? You can have the best strategy, the fastest data connection, you can have a genius-level IQ, and still, somehow, you find yourself making the same dumb mistakes over and over again. So what is going on here? Well, the central idea we're going to unpack today is this. The biggest, toughest battles you'll ever fight in trading, they're not against other traders or the market itself. They're fought in the 6 inches between your ears. It is a game of psychology first and strategy second. So, where do we even begin? To really understand this internal opponent, our very first step is to just look in the mirror. We've got to acknowledge who we're really up against. This comes directly from the psychologist and trader whose work we're exploring today. I mean, think about it. The guy had all the credentials you could ask for, but he kept losing money. It's such a powerful way of showing a really crucial point. Your traditional intelligence, your book smarts, that's not the key. Something else is at play. So what is that something else? Well, it really comes down to these hidden automatic programs, these old, outdated patterns that are just running on a loop in the back of our minds. There's this fascinating idea from the philosopher Gurdjieff that says we're not one single rational person. Nope, we're actually more like a committee of different eyes. You know, there's the anxious eye, the confident eye, and for a trader, there's definitely an impatient eye that jumps the gun, or the greedy eye that just can't let go of a winning trade. And in those high-pressure moments, the wrong eye can just grab the steering wheel without us even noticing, running these old, busted patterns. To make this crystal clear, let's talk about Ken. He was this brilliant medical student. In a low-pressure situation, like studying with his roommate, he knew everything. But the second he sat down for the actual high-stakes exam, his mind just went completely blank. And here's the wild part, the diagnosis. Ken's problem wasn't a lack of knowledge at all. The real issue was that his entire sense of self-worth was tied up in his performance. So he wasn't just taking a test. He was facing a final judgment on his entire identity. And that kind of pressure, well, that's what activated his anxious eye, which sabotaged the very success he was desperate for. So if we're all just kind of being run by these mechanical loops, how in the world do we break free? Well, the key is to develop a totally new part of yourself. Now, this is a massive shift in perspective. Most of us, we try to crush our fear or suppress our greed. But the author argues that's the wrong way to go. Fear isn't your enemy. It's just information. It's a signal. You wouldn't cover up the check engine light in your car with duct tape, would you? No. You'd read what it's trying to tell you. And this is the technique. Think of it like you have 2 different operating modes. First, there's the emotional mind. It's totally immersed in the feeling. It reacts. It identifies with the feeling, saying, I am afraid. But then, you have the observing mind. This part is detached. It just watches. It sees the emotion as data, and it says, I notice the feeling of fear arising. That tiny little shift in language creates a huge amount of psychological space. This takes it even a step deeper. Psychologists call it meta-awareness. It's basically being aware of your own awareness. You're not just watching yourself get emotional. You're watching the part of you that is watching you overreact. You're identifying with the calm, neutral observer. And that, right there, is where your power and your ability to choose comes from. So cultivating that observer is step 1. But the next step is to get in there and actively create new patterns. And this is absolutely crucial. You cannot just think your way into becoming a better trader or a better performer. It doesn't work that way. You have to create actual experiences that fundamentally rewire your emotional responses. It's all about doing, not just analyzing. The book gives us 3 core tools for this. First, you have to create these breakthrough moments, these powerful new experiences. Second, this often means you have to do the exact opposite of what your gut instincts are screaming at you to do. And third, you have to hammer in these new patterns with intensity and repetition, just like a bodybuilder training a new muscle. Here is a brilliant example of doing what comes unnaturally. So a hostile patient comes into the therapist's office and he's yelling that all therapists are fakes. Now, the natural reaction is to get defensive, right? But instead, the therapist just immediately agreed with him.
And that completely disarmed the patient. It shattered his defensive pattern and created an opening for a real connection.
So, what's the end game here? Where does all this lead? Well, it's a path not just to becoming a better trader, but to becoming a better version of yourself. And this is why these ideas are so much bigger than just Wall Street. The market is just this incredibly unforgiving environment that instantly gives you feedback on your internal state. It shows you your impatience, your fear, your greed right to your face. Mastering the market really means you have to master those same forces inside your own life.
And that kind of mastery, it doesn't happen overnight. Research from all kinds of fields, from chess masters to concert violinists, points to this 10-year rule. It suggests that true expertise takes about 10,000 hours of intense, focused, deliberate practice. There are no shortcuts to mastering the market, because there are no shortcuts to mastering yourself.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the biggest takeaways here. First, your real opponent is looking back at you from the mirror. Second, you're not just one person, you're made up of many competing internal parts, or eyes. Third, the solution is to build up that internal observer to watch them all in action. Fourth, real, lasting change comes from creating new, powerful experiences. And finally, and this is the big one, professional mastery is really just a side effect of personal mastery. So, we'll leave you with this thought. If becoming a master of your craft is really all about becoming a master of your own mind, what is one automatic mechanical pattern in your work, in your relationships, anywhere in your life that you can just begin to observe without any judgment starting today?